Hello everyone, RadLad here, and welcome back to yet another video. And you may have a couple questions about this video already. The first question is why I'm reviewing a Roblox game, and the second is what the hell is Acceleracers? And don't worry, those questions will be answered in due time. In fact, that second question will be answered right now. Acceleracers was a series of movies that were created by a partnership between Mattel, Hot Wheels license owners, and Mainframe Studios in 2005. It actually serves as a sequel to 2003's Hot Wheels Highway 35 World Race. For a little bit of context on Highway 35, Dr. Tesla, the president of the wealthy Scrim Corporation, organizes the World Race and chooses 35 of the world's best drivers, and puts them into races across racetracks in alternate dimensions created by the ancient alien race named the Accelerons. At the end of this track lies the Wheel of Power, a relic in which Tesla is interested in due to the possibility of tapping into it to gain an endless source of power. However, it turned out to be a horrible mistake, and the racers quickly returned the wheel back to where it was, only to have it stolen by the evil racing drones 2 years later in Acceleracers. Because it turns out the Wheel of Power is actually the gateway to even more pocket dimensions with more racetracks, which were also created by the Accelerons. They built these realms to test various skills of driving, such as staying focused on the track at all times, driving through dense traffic, and even driving in low gravity areas. Dr. Tesla recruits 10 racers, some of which from the World Race, that are now split into two opposing teams, being the Teku and the Metal Maniacs. And they're complete polar opposites of each other. The Teku have incredibly advanced and high-tech cars, fit with jet boosters, top-of-the-line music systems, and super-duper cool neon underlights. The members of the Teku are Vert Wheeler, the winner of the World Race in Highway 35, Kurt Wilde, a former spy for Galorem in Highway 35, which we'll get to her later, Shirako Takamoto, a dude who just likes to jam out when he races and is obviously the best character, Karma Ice is a racer who likes to analyze things closely and takes a keen interest in the racing drones. The leader of the Teku is Nolo Pissarro, and he'll definitely let you know that he's the leader if you question him.
Remember who's the Teku leader, huh?
His brother Tone died after his car spun out of control when he was engaged in a street race against the leader of the Metal Maniacs, Torque Maddox. Therefore, Nolo has grown to have a bitter hatred for Torque and will do anything in his power to get revenge on him. Most of the Maniac's cars consist of flames and grills and are very clearly not concerned with safety. However, they have raw power and speed in spades. A lot of them are installed with giant retractable hooks in front in order to ram into another vehicle from behind, and volcano tire guards to drive through the harshest conditions. The members of the Metal Maniacs are Taro Katano, another veteran of the World Race, who also has the most legendary quote of any character in the movies.
We can take on these drones together.
I'm gonna pass you.
Mark Wilde, the brother of Kurt Wilde and a veteran of the World Race. He was involved in a business scandal that sent him to prison for 2 years since his brother didn't help him through the trial, leading to him having a bitter hatred for Kurt. Porkchop is an absolute beast of a man, and his driving style is reckless and rowdy as all hell. Monkey is a shitty character that's dumb, stupid, and lousy. Torque, the leader of the Maniacs, is burly yet usually quite calm and collected. However, he has PTSD about his race he had with Tone, and he seems to blame himself for his death. These 10 drivers all want to claim victory, but oftentimes they lose the races since they're too busy fighting each other, instead of focusing on taking out the true enemies, being the racing drones. The drones themselves were created long ago by the Accelerons to serve as track testers for the various realms. However, like most sentient robots in fiction, they turned on their creators and went rogue, and now race against the humans with not only the intention of beating them in the racing realms, but also in taking them out. Galorem is the tyrant's leader of the drones, and in Highway 35 attempted to stop Dr. Tesla from getting the Wheel of Power by hiring a spy who happened to be Kurt Wilde. However, things fell through after she revealed that she was actually a drone in a human disguise. And in Acceleracer, she's no longer hiding the fact that she's a drone, and she has full murderous intentions to kill and torture humans. And this bloodlust can be seen with Kadeem, who is the actual best character. He's another veteran of Highway 35, and was briefly one of Dr. Tesla's main drivers. However, he was knocked off the track in the Storm Realm, and was presumed dead until it was revealed later that the drones had captured him, and then removed his internal organs and cut his body in half and stuffed mechanical drone parts into where his innards were. You know, typical Hot Wheels stuff. Anyways though, it's important to remember that
Kadeem is gone!
later on in the series, another opposing force enters the realms, the mysterious Silencers. The Silencers are actually a government organization that has the intention of both studying and winning the realms. And they actually end up winning a majority of the realms in the show, and give the drones a run for their money. Silencers are enemies to Dr. Tesla's drivers, mainly because Dr. Tesla was a former member of them. He left for unknown reasons and stole a decent amount of the organization's technology. And despite being against Dr. Tesla and his racers, the Silencers won't outright harm the drivers, and instead will EMP their cars so that they are temporarily unable to move, as the Silencers themselves are still human, and not cold, heartless drones. So yeah, that's the basics of Acceleracers, and trust me, it's a lot better than you would think. Despite being licensed Hot Wheels movies from 2005, they're really freaking good. The story is surprisingly mature for a movie about toy cars, and has some downright disturbing themes. Obviously, the CGI isn't the best, and hasn't aged well, but eventually you'll get acquainted with its jankiness, and you'll be able to enjoy the movies for the characters and the storyline. All 4 movies and shorts were originally available on YouTube, but for some reason, Mattel has been blocking them, even though it's very unlikely they have any plans of revitalizing the series. Thanks, Mattel! Real dick move there! Throughout the course of the series, 12 different racing realms are seen: Storm, Swamp, Cavern, Lava, Water, Metro, Cliffside, Ice, Neon Pipeline, Junk, Ruins, and Cosmic, with many more realms still left undiscovered. Each of these realms has a gimmick unique to itself, and you also have the obvious Hot Wheels staples like loops and corkscrews. Now, all these aspects with the realms makes it seem like Acceleracers would be perfect to have a tie-in video game where you can actually race through all these distinct realms. However, no tie-in game was ever made, weirdly, and it's honestly kind of a bummer considering how awesome the realms would be as racetracks. However, this unfulfilled potential for a game would be tapped into by the small but incredibly dedicated fanbase for Acceleracers. Now, there are many means Acceleracers fans are going about making their own fan games, and one of the most prominent ones is Project Acceleracers, a game that's being built from the ground up and is incredibly ambitious, but it's still in beta and it definitely shows. There's also various Acceleracers tracks that have been remade in a racing game called Distance. However, those games aren't what we're talking about today. And now it's time we answer that second question from the beginning of the video. One of the ways fans have made an Acceleracers game is through the use of the game creator engine Roblox, which I could explain, but let's be honest, I think we all know what Roblox is, for better and for worse. The game usually gets a bad rap, which to be fair is honestly pretty justified. 90% of the games are total garbage, with barely any effort put into them. Or they just have so many microtransactions in the form of Robux that makes it so blatantly obvious the game is just pay to win. Though, even the shittiest of Roblox games are masterpieces compared to Nintendo's diarrhea dump of Metroid Prime Hunters! And of course, most of the player base is young children, and while kids can be well behaved and pleasant to be around, it seems Roblox only contains the most spoiled of brats. However, Roblox Acceleracers is unlike any other Roblox game I've played. It's tons of fun to play, it's relatively unpopular as Acceleracers is a pretty niche series, meaning dumb little kids don't know about it, and it also has no microtransactions whatsoever. The Acceleracers game we'll be talking about doesn't actually have a uniform name, as it's split up by each realm. However, they're all easily identifiable through a few means. The creator of them is named Murdoch, and the icons for each realm are the exact symbols used for the show's promotional material. Now, this game used to be a more organized thing, however, at some point in time, the game was removed, and for a bit, all the realms were gone. However, years later in 2020, Murdoch decided to update and re-upload a handful of them. And compared to the original versions of each track, they are far more detailed and have revised layouts. Even the car models have been greatly improved to the point where they're basically as good as the ones seen in the actual series. Although the caveat to this is that the original game had 14 realms, whereas the new re-uploads is only a set of 11, meaning that a few of the core movie realms are cut, being Metro, Neon Pipeline, and Cosmic. While this is a bummer, the 10 realms we have are still a decent amount, and all of them are long, intricate, and most have branching paths that can provide a different experience each time you play it. Anyways, enough of all the introductions, let's get into the game itself. The Acceledrome world is basically the central hub for the Murdoch realms, and it's also the hub for Dr. Tesla's racers in the movies. It's a large open space with garages for the Metal Maniacs and the Teku, with a large control tower where Dr. Tesla, his assistant Lonnie Tam, and his robo-wife Gig reside once a realm is opened. The most notable thing about the Acceledrome is the massive hologram of the wheel and power right in the middle of everything, with a massive expanse of looping track around it that serves as the way to enter the wheel when a racing realm opens. The garage sections have small pads that, when utilized, allow you to pick from dozens and dozens of different cars that are from Acceleracers, Highway 35, and even cars that aren't even from the series. Now, I could go through all the cars, but then this video would end up being longer than Metroid Prime Doors was, so instead I'll just show a small selection of my favorite cars. All cars control pretty much the exact same, and the only real difference between the cars is the hitboxes, which doesn't really matter much because players cannot collide with each other in this game, which is honestly a really good thing. The controls for the cars are all the same, they have the same acceleration, braking power, top speed, etc. The controls for the game are surprisingly not that bad, but they're also nothing amazing as the turning can be very stiff, and this becomes an issue for one realm in particular. But aside from that, the controls are fine. At least until you hit a wall or use your handbrake to get to a complete stop. Many times when you do this, your car will cease to move. This is a very annoying glitch, though thankfully it's easily fixable with the use of a grappling hook. The grappling hook and parachute are both combined and are mapped to the one slot on the inventory bar, and once it's activated, a parachute will come out on top of your car and you'll slow down almost immediately. And it's honestly a lot more reliable than the handbrake is, because that always causes you to spin out of control and fall right off the track into your death. The grappling hook is used by clicking on the screen to a point to which you want to grapple to, and the grappling hook will go flying out and attempt to attach to whatever surface you aimed at. And it actually works pretty well most of the time. Not only that, but you can also use it to flip yourself back up if you tip over, since the grappling hook automatically corrects your orientation. Anyways, if your car gets stuck, simply use it on the ground and retract it midway through it pulling you to its destination, and you should be able to move again. Though it doesn't always work the first time, but within a few tries, it should work. It's annoying, but you get used to it. One last fun quirk of the grappling hook is that you can grapple onto your own car and defy the laws of physics to levitate back on the track if you fall off, which is very, very handy. Another important mechanic of the game is Nitrox 2. This fuel was developed by Dr. Tesla and allows your car to almost instantly hit 300 miles per hour. The Nitrox can be used at any time for a burst of speed, but it must recharge for about 30 seconds before it can be used again. Don't feel like you have to use the Nitrox constantly, because if you use it on a turn, you'll fly off the track completely and die. After about 2 minutes of waiting in the Acceledrome, the wheel of power will begin to move and the alarms will start beeping and the lights above the looping track will turn red. This signifies that a racing realm is about to open. The red lights will turn to yellow one by one as the wheel's segments lock into place. Once all are yellow, they'll turn to green and the portal to the realm is open. The looping track is more of a visual spectacle than an actual challenge, as it's incredibly hard to fall off of it unless you pull your parachute or slow down while you're upside down. And remember,
You must be going 300 miles per hour when you reach the wheel.
once you reach the wheel, you'll enter one of 11 different realms. Each of the realms is actually a separate Roblox game, and as a result, you don't actually stay in the car you entered the portal with. Upon entering the realm, you'll end up in what is essentially a mini Acceledrome. There's various garage stations with car spawners, and directly in front of you is a smaller wheel of power that leads directly to the track. But now, it's about time that we actually explore what the realms have in store for us. The Lava Realm is probably the most simple of the realms to complete. It literally just consists of a long single lane track with soft turns that you don't need to slow down to take. There's 4 jumps throughout the track that aren't too difficult, you just have to make sure you're going fast enough so that you can actually clear them. I wouldn't recommend using the nitrox on the jumps though, because if you're going too fast after a jump, you'll have a chance of spinning out or flipping the car. The most notable part of the realm is the last section where the track splits and the width of the track is also halved. The left path is significantly longer, but it isn't quite as winding as the right path is. This path is closer to the lava and has more turns, but it's also a bit shorter. Either way, it's wise to slow down at this part because of how small the width of the track is. Luckily, after this section, it's smooth sailing to the ending portal. Once you finish the realm and enter the exit portal, you enter a room similar to the starting one, except you can't go back to the wheel and there's no car spawners. You can hit the reset button if you want to restart the realm, but if you want to go back to the Acceledrome, you can press the EDR, which stands for Emergency Driver Return, and you'll be sent back to the Acceledrome and be able to tackle another realm. A slightly harder realm is the Swamp Realm. It starts off relatively simple as it's another single lane track with basic turns. However, it quickly divides into 2 winding paths with much sharper turns that you'll probably need to slow down for. Now, one other thing to mention about the game is that it utilizes a system of invisible checkpoints that you must pass in order for your end time to count at the end. So as tempting as it may be to jump off at the top of the spiral section and land on the track below, you may run the risk of missing a checkpoint, and as a result, it won't count your time. There are more turns off the initial left and right split, but they land you in one of 2 routes. One route takes you by the water where you actually have to drive over it for a small portion, and make sure you're going as fast as possible, or else you'll end up getting stuck. From there, you'll have 2 more routes to choose from, one closer to the water that's a fairly straight track, and the one further from the water that is significantly windier and much longer. So unless you have a fear of water or something, always take the track closest to the water. The other major route takes you to a dead end, which is blocked with massive vines. However, if you look towards your left, you'll notice a large vehicle called a hyperpod. These machines were created so that a driver could get past obstacles they would otherwise never be able to pass. It doesn't actually move in this game, but it instead leads to a red transparent track that will take you over the vines. All these routes converge into the same track just in time for you to see the giant plant monster mountain thingy guy. This dude signifies when the deadly vines start showing up on the track, and you must keep up your speed and not slow down at all in order to dodge them, because they'll come from underneath the track and grab your car and dangle it in the air, potentially leading to a death. This section is long and difficult, especially the last part when there's a large group of vines all bunched up at the end where the portal is. I'd recommend saving your nitrox for this part so you can blow past all of those vines. The Cavern realm opens up with a section where you're sent right in the middle of a massive cave, with massive rock formations blocking the way forward. You have to be very careful when avoiding these rock pillars because if you lose too much speed, you won't be able to make the jump over the chasm partway into the section. Eventually you'll make it to the end of the cavernous path and out into the normal track. This part of the track is very simple and not too interesting, just some basic turns. But don't let this easy part make you think that's all the realm has to offer, because before long you'll hit the stalactite section. This section is long and brutal, as the track is covered in stalactites that fall from the cave ceiling right in front of you. If you hit one, you'll likely go flying off the track, so I'd recommend not going at full speed through this section. After the stalactites is a massive loop that has a gap at the top. However, it's not as hard to make the jump as it seems. Just make sure you're going as fast as you possibly can, and I definitely recommend using the nitrox here, because you do not want to be stranded upside down. Finally, we have the last section in which these massive bug dudes fly in from above. However, I don't think they can actually do anything. They're more there just for decoration, because I've tried driving right into their path, but they never drop down to grab my car. So you're all good to the end. The water realm begins with you completely submerged in water and slowly sinking towards a tower structure with an absolutely gorgeous dark black door on top that opens by splitting in two and then folding into the inside of the tower. The door is simple, but I still think it's... shit. Sorry, got sidetracked. Anyways, after going through the door, you are sent through a massive underwater tube that serves as the track. However, be warned, these tubes aren't solid, and you'll go right through them if you fly off the track. The tubes also have very wonky collision, meaning that using the grappling hook glitch to recover is a lot more finicky than normal. Anyways, towards the beginning of the track is a small section in which you must hydroplane. It's similar to the Swamp Realm's water running section, as you must make sure you're driving through it as fast as possible, so you don't get stuck and start sinking. After a long string of straight track and gentle turns, you'll eventually get to a part where the pipeline splits. The right path leads deeper underwater and has an extremely enjoyable wall ride section. The left path leads upwards towards the surface and has more splitting paths as you go. There are sharp turns, another wall ride section, and even a loop on the various paths to the left side. But I'd also say it's significantly harder and longer than the right path is, which is why I'd recommend going right on the initial split so you'll have an easier time. Eventually you'll exit the tube via a massive jump and land on the track just above the surface of the water. This area features many more hydroplaning sections, and you'll want to be very careful about your speed, as right after most of these sections are sharp turns. So you'll have to be a master at controlling your speed, or just make sure you have your finger always near the parachute button. Just be careful not to fly off the track and pull a vert wheeler. The Fog Realm is the only realm in Roblox Acceleracers that doesn't appear in the show. Rather, it's one of the 3 realms that the racing drones won before the events of the movies. As such, this realm is built without any real references, and given how the track is designed, it definitely feels that way. The track starts off straightforward enough, a long straightaway followed by a couple soft turns. However, the orange track quickly transitions into a black and red track that isn't any different from the normal track aside from the color. The obvious challenge of this realm is the fact that the entire realm is covered in thick fog, meaning that your vision is greatly limited. This fact is made even more brutal since the realm features many incredibly sharp turns that may catch you by surprise, since you won't have much time to slow down by the time you see them. The Fog Realm uses these incredibly sharp turns many times throughout the course, and you'll either have to slow down dramatically or use the parachute to sort of drift along the turns, since it'll cut your speed greatly and allow you to quickly turn out of the bend. After a handful of these turns, you'll come up to a cave section that is basically the exact same as the one found at the beginning of the Cavern realm, even complete with the jump over the chasm midway through. After the cave bit, you'll get back onto the track and have to make even more sharp turns, and at the end of this section is a jump where you'll need a lot of speed for, so definitely use your nitrox here. After this jump, the track splits, but both ways are basically identical, and they both lead to a loop that transitions into a long wall ride section. Eventually you'll enter another cave and have to clear one more chasm jump, but soon after that you'll see the portal and finish the realm. Now, the Fog Realm had a handful of annoying sharp turns. Now picture that, but the entire realm is literally just those turns. Well, you won't have to picture it for long, since that's exactly what the Cliffside realm is. This realm is the only one I consider to be outright bad of the 10, as the somewhat stiff turning controls of the game work horrendously for this track. The realm starts off with a loop that leads into a massive section where the track stacks over itself at least a dozen times. Now, it's incredibly tempting to just skip the entire thing and go right to the bottom, but obviously it won't count your time if you do that. Taking the turns on the stack section is nearly impossible, as you must be going at a ludicrously slow speed in order to make them. Now, that wouldn't be a problem if there weren't so damn many. So, you effectively cannot go fast at all in this section and must go at a snail's pace, so I hope you're ready to spend 10 minutes slowly going through turns, where you risk falling off every 3 seconds if you are ever so slightly too fast. After this, you'll have a chance to go full speed ahead on a triple loop, but then you have to immediately slow down again as the track wraps around the cliffside, and you have to make even more sharp turns. However, you can literally just drive on the cliffside itself, and it even connects to the track later on. So honestly, I'd recommend doing this just so you don't have to slog through more boring turns. And the last section features even more turns. Oh boy! Once you make the last turn, slam that Nitrox button so you can leave this hellscape of a realm. Oh, and after I made this script originally, Murdoch completely redid the realm because of just how shitty it was. However, the new version is somehow even worse, as it still has just as many sharp turns, but now you can't even drive on the side of the cliffside, and there's this new cave area that just serves to pad out the length of the realm even more than before. This realm truly is beyond saving. As soon as you enter the realm, you'll land on ice, which has encased the orange track underneath it. This surface has very little traction and makes turning a nightmare. But what else would you expect from the ice realm? Thankfully, this section isn't too long, and soon enough you'll land on the track itself and quickly be thrust into a loop and sent right into a sharp turn. After this, it's just a straight track with some soft turns, with a loop fill in the middle for some variety. Eventually, you'll encounter a Fog Realm styled sharp turn and hit a crossroads. The left leads to a winding track, and the other leads to a loop with a jump at the end. Both converge back together quickly though, so it doesn't really matter which one you go down. After this, you'll go around some sharper turns, and end up in front of a cool looking ice cave in which the track occasionally dips to the ground, forcing you to drive on the icy floor. Once you make it to the end of the cave, you're just about at the end of the realm, as it's only a long straightaway to the portal. However, there exists a second, much quicker route to reach the end of the Ice Realm, in what I shall deem as the Taro route. In the show, when Taro enters the Ice Realm, he actually misses the track completely and falls into a passageway on the side of the mountain and goes sliding down there. However, this path proves to actually lead very close to the end of the realm, and Murdoch has recreated this route because, why not? You can access it by going towards the right at the end of the first ice section and line yourself up with the ice walls that are raised higher than the rest of the ground. If you do it correctly, you'll fall in between the walls and onto the solid ice, in which you'll quickly start sliding down, and eventually become airborne as you fly into the same mountain passage Taro did. After this, it's honestly a lot of boring straightaways and easy turns, but eventually it'll take you right out at the ending straightaway where there's an ice ramp lying right next to the track. Make this jump and you'll beat the ice realm in record time. After blasting past a bunch of cool looking ruins in a tunnel, this realm reveals itself to just be a massive maze, as there are branching paths everywhere. The major landmarks of this realm are the temple areas, with large columns, ancient arches, and giant golems of death and destruction. They'll swipe at the ground and stomp their feet, and if you get hit by them, you'll either explode or get launched into space. Point is, stay away from them if you want to live. These areas also serve as the central hubs for all the converging tracks, as there's ways to go on all 4 sides of these monuments. However, my advice is to go right, as that's where the end portal is. In fact, if you make the first possible right turn, you'll enter a tunnel with a drill hyperpod. Unlike the Swamp Realm's hyperpod, this one actually works. All it does is go in a straight line and pass through a wall, but it's still cool that they even implemented it into the realm regardless of that. This route with the hyperpod actually takes you to the monument area where the track that leads to the end is connected to. It's on the right side, and you'll know it's the correct way to go since you have to clear a jump shortly after taking it. For the jump, there's a portion of the track where you have to dive into a canyon and dodge falling rocks. Although if you use your Nitrox quick enough, you can make it through the canyon before the rocks even fall down. There's also one last loop with a massive drop that leads into the ending tunnel. This tunnel is basically a bigger version of the initial tunnel you first entered the realm in. It has giant pillars in the way and debris of other structures that serve as ramps that are a crap ton of fun to jump off of. You can't easily die in this area, so the pillars in the way are just there to slow you down. At the end of the tunnel is where the end portal lies. The junk realm starts off with you landing on a much wider track than normal, with junk piles blocking parts of it. Shortly after that, you'll come up to an area where the track splits into 4 smaller paths. Each route is about the same in length and all mostly consist of semi-sharp turns around a curve. However, those 4 tracks become pairs of 2 as they converge with each other in 2 separate areas. One area takes you to a split path, where you can either go through a section where magnets will pull your car off the ground and fling you if you aren't going fast enough, or you can go to the other area and dodge falling junk piles that come from the cliffs above. Pick your poison, I guess. Either way, the two tracks will end up joining once again, and the other track that branches off from the beginning 4 paths leads you to another magnet area. Though unlike the other side, there is no split path, meaning you have to drive through the magnets no matter what. Eventually, both of these tracks will join back together, and you'll be back to going on a single route, right into a giant mecha dinosaur dragon thing of death! It shoots fire at your car, and you're obviously going to want to avoid that, and it also slams its claws down the track. You have to carefully drive right through them to survive. Afterwards, the track will split back into 4, and you'll once again be going in circles until they reunite once more and take you into the final section. This last section, you must dodge the giant swinging spike balls of doom. Now, this is obviously an intimidating sight to see, but there is actually a reliable way through it so you can ensure that you don't get completely bodied by a spike ball. You must drive on the edge of the track that's furthest from the spike ball tower you're nearest to, and then alternate to the other edge when you're coming up to another one. If you don't think you'll be able to get to the edge in time, slow down and adjust yourself so that you won't end up in the path of the spike ball. You don't want to end up like Wild. If you get hit by the spike ball, you'll be sent straight into the stratosphere, and at that point, just reset. Just focus on staying on the right side of the track, and you'll see the finish line in no time. So, fun fact, this script is actually a couple months old, and in that time, Murdoch added a new realm, this being the Canyon realm. And it's now probably my second favorite of them all. The track is immediately distinct by its raised guardrails that make falling off slightly harder than it is in most realms. Though you can still go overboard if you have too much speed when you crash into one. The track winds across the canyon and features massive sideways turns, massive drops, and long ascents, with some good old loops thrown in for good measure. The map is honestly one of the prettiest in the game, and its massive scale and towering waterfalls make it truly atmospheric. The realm's major obstacle that's present throughout most of the track are the massive jumps you have to clear. You have to be going at almost maximum speed to clear most of them, so saving your nitrox for these jumps is definitely the way to go. Halfway through, you'll end up in a giant cave where you'll have to make some challenging sharp turns, and once you get out of there, you'll be spit onto a track on the surface of the canyon and have to drive off tons of ramps to hop over the rivers, splitting apart the land masses. This part is tricky, but also absolutely thrilling because of how much time you'll spend being airborne. Murdoch has definitely not lost his talents for making entertaining realms. Now, I saved the best for last, which is ironic because the Storm realm is actually the first realm that's seen the movies. The beginning of the track is the same old, straight track and small turns. However, you'll likely notice a massive electric tornado spinning around a bundle of track come into view after only a minute of driving. This area is actually a massive wall ride section, and it's an absolute visual spectacle to go through. And right after this, you are sent right into another set piece, which is a massive looped corkscrew hybrid thing. It's yet another visual treat, and it's a crime to not use your nitrox here. After you make it through, you make it to the main gimmick of the realm, the lightning rods. These skinny rods appear along the sides of the track, and lightning will frequently strike them to cause an electrical surge field to briefly appear on the track. If you happen to run into one of these surges, your car speed will quickly go to 0 and you'll be temporarily immobilized. However, it doesn't take too much time at all to get back up and start driving again, luckily. Eventually, you'll hit a massive sphere of fog, giving you limited visibility like the fog realm. Once inside this fog sphere, you'll be met with a crossroads. The right leads out of the fog and into a windy track with some fairly sharp turns, whereas the left leads deeper into the fog, but the track is easier to drive than it is on the right. Both tracks will also have a couple jumps sprinkled in just to keep you on your toes. After all, you don't want to pull a Kadim.
Kadim, can you hear me?
I'm trying to get my...
The split track will become one again just in time for what I like to call the Thunderdome. A giant double loop encased in a ball of electricity, and it serves as an excellent final spectacle right before the end portal. The Storm Realm looks cool, plays well, and is just bucket loads of fun, and perfectly showcases what makes Murdoch's Roblox Acceleracers so enjoyable to play. Well, there we go. I somehow spent 35 minutes on a Roblox game. But that alone should show you how much effort and hard work went into this game so that could be something truly great, and something that Acceleracers fans can play and enjoy. And there's things I haven't even mentioned yet, like the fact that there's a test track connected to the Acceledrome where you can get some practice in. Point is, if you're nostalgic for Acceleracers, you should definitely give this game a shot. And even to those who don't know what Acceleracers is, I'd still recommend giving it a play, because I'm sure you'll still have some fun with it. However, what if you're interested in Acceleracers but don't want to go in with the commitment of making a Roblox account? Well, Roblox isn't the only game with Acceleracers content. Remember that one game I mentioned very briefly towards the beginning of the video? Distance? Yeah, let's just say we'll be taking a look at that game eventually. But until then, have a wonderful day.